Welcome to another edition of the Kish Podcast. I'm Tony Scott.
And I'm Emer McCormack.
Emer, I've had a really horrible week.
Why is that, Tony?
Well, it all happened yesterday when I was doing a good deed for a family member.
Okay.
Basically, they work in an office with a dodgy front door. And they said, will you help close it? I said, yeah, no worries. No worries.
That's where they were wrong.
Head in, walk up the little path. A crow swooped for me and attacked me.
No way.
I was stuck in the office for about 15 minutes because every time I opened the door, the crows kept swooping. It's like, do you know, it was like that Alfred Hitchcock movie, The Birds.
Was it now, Tony,
Yeah.
That dramatic?
It was that dramatic.
Jesus.
All of the crows lined up on the electric wire waiting.
I could just imagine, Tony, the title of your next novel or of...
My next novel?
of your first novel would be The Crows of Roscommon. You can have that one for free.
Thanks. So, anything interesting happen you?
No, nothing really exciting this week. Oh, I had a big pitch for a well-known brand. Can't say the company.
You say what they do?
Blah. They're in the FMCG area.
Fast consumable goods.
Uh-huh.
Is that food?
Yeah, they're edible.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. That really broadens it down.
Yeah, so I
Narrows
do a
it
lot
down.
of conceptualization work. So
Okay.
they come to me with a problem and say, we need to grow our market percent by 5% or 10% or 20%. So can you come up with really great experiential campaigns with the consumer to try and drive that growth? And I say, absolutely, no problem at all. But of course, we're in the middle of a pandemic and you can't really do product sampling and all of those amazing, crazy things. So I feel somewhat at this moment in time that I'm doing a lot of work in vain, not for 2020, but hopefully perhaps for 2021.
Anyway, let's move on. Before we get to
Thanks, Tony.
Before we get to this week's episode, can I just, for those listening, obviously this is not a visual thing, it's an audio thing, so I need to use my 20 plus years of broadcasting experience to help
He's
you.
not 99, don't worry.
Just imagine a pair of headphones on top of your head and the green, white and gold of the Irish tricolour flag.
Yeah.
That's on Emer's head right now.
Yes, it is. Happy birthday, Emer. It's my birthday week.
Yeah,
Tony,
Emer is 47
would
this
you
Tuesday.
please back off? I am not 47. I'm far from
Now, a
it.
lady never reveals her age.
No, well, I'm well under 40 now. Thanks very much.
No, not well.
Seriously, Tony.
But it's Emer's birthday this Wednesday, so make sure to
It
send
is,
her floods of birthday messages.
Yeah, it's my birthday.
And your Twitter handle is at Emer McCormack.
Yeah, well done, Tony. At least you didn't say McCormuck this time.
Right. So who do we have coming up on this afternoon, this afternoon, this evening, whatever time you're listening of the day's podcast?
Anyway, my headphones I got for my birthday, they're absolutely deadly, right? And they are in the Irish flag. So these are my birthday present and I think they're deadly.
I love how
Proper
you're showing
studio.
the camera. Not one person listening can see what you're doing.
I know, but just close your eyes and think of the Irish flag.
It doesn't work when you do it.
Anyway.
Close your eyes and
so
think of an Irish flag.
Anyway, Tony, on this week's podcast, we have Pat Phelan. He is a serial entrepreneur from County Cork. He has owned and managed many businesses, and he talks to us about his successes and failures and everything in between.
It's like the rags to riches story.
Yeah, probably would be, yeah. But I mean, his life has been fairly documented. He was on the Late Late Show. He's been, well, I suppose there's been many articles written about him in newspapers throughout the years. So he is well known within business circles, and he is, would you believe, a very good mentor of mine from, I suppose, maybe I would say the guts of 10 years now. Often a person who I'd ring up and consult if I was in a difficult situation and how to get out of it, or just advice, general advice. And I was really, really pleased when I asked him. He's very busy, obviously, at the moment, but I asked him would it be okay if he came on the Kish, and he very much obliged. So who is Pat Phelan?
I'm an entrepreneur in multiple segments. I'm an investor, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a brother, and all those good things that I couldn't be before.
Tell me about that. What do you mean you couldn't be before?
I spent years not being any of those. I think that's been fairly well documented, and kind of in the last 20 years, I became someone I like a little bit.
And were you always entrepreneurial, Pat?
I always kind of had ideas, I always felt there was something better there for me. And I never knew what it was, but I always felt there was something. I always felt that there was, that I could achieve something. But as it went on, it felt it was gone, or it hadn't picked me, or, as other things took over, alcoholism, etc., life had passed me by.
I suppose that's quite a statement, really, when you're thinking about that, when you're in, I suppose, the depths of despair, and then, to kind of come back from that. What was it? What do you think? What was the light bulb moment, do you think, that made your life turn around from being an alcoholic?
I just had an awakening on New Year's Day 2000. I think I kind of made a decision that if I didn't stop now, I was going to die, or I would be left with some kind of a wet brain or unable to function. I was very ill, and I think it was just an understanding of it's either change or accept what you don't like is what you have right now.
When you say you were very ill, do you mean physically ill, or do you mean mentally ill, or ill,
both.
Or do you think both?
Both. Very hallucinating. I was in bed for 17 days. Unable to move, unable to wash, barely able to eat. I was eating, I forget. I think it's called bully. It's oxo with brown bread, just trying to get my strength up to go again. And I was very lucky. I went straight away. I tried it a number of times and it didn't work for me, or I didn't work it, more probably. Yeah. And this time, I suppose I had nothing left. Nothing left to lose. And that's kind of the real story. I had nothing. I laugh when people, fight on Twitter and think it's real. Where I came from, fighting is a very different thing altogether,
Yeah, I can well imagine. So when you got that kind of light bulb moment for yourself and you thought, okay, I need to change here, otherwise it's just going to go elsewhere. Where did you start?
I became a chef very quickly. I went back to college, became a chef, and it moved on rapidly from there. Someone took me under the wing, a guy called Jim Ryan, in a Thai restaurant. So I ended up being the head chef in a Thai restaurant. I loved it. We couldn't get chefs or dishwashers, or it's kind of the early 2000s, the boom. And there was no chefs, dishwashers, waitresses available. And someone knew someone in Kuala Lumpur who could get these people on work permits. We started bringing people in from Asia to work in Ireland, staff the kitchens and restaurants, and they're still there, loads of them. I meet them all. I had a message from the first guy, who was called Kamal Hussein. He was from Dhaka. And I had a message from him the other night on Facebook. How are you, boss? They're laughing, how's things? And he has 2 houses. He has an apartment block in Dhaka now. He has a food shop in Cork. And I remember him coming, and I picked him up at the airport. He couldn't speak English. He was a nervous wreck. And we became great friends,
Isn't that amazing?
And we just filled Ireland with restaurant staff and their families as well, because once they came, they were here like a year, and then the families followed. And dudes were all like a family to me at the time, because I was able to work I was able to get some time off and was able to think about things. They were all talking about phoning home, how to phone home. So I opened an internet cafe and a phone center. I was very good with tech.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Out of nowhere, I'm a problem solver. If you want something fixed, I'll fix it. I don't care how. I'll just go through brick
Do you mean
walls.
Do you mean like technically now, or do you just mean like as in a brain to know how to fix it?
A brain to know how to fix it. I'm not a coder or developer or anything like that, but I'm able to speak to people fairly clear about what I want. And so we opened a tiny little internet cafe in Cork called Talk World. It's crazy, That had 8 computers first, and then people wanted to make phone calls. So I'd seen something in London where people go into booths and make calls home. This was before no Skype, no Viber, no WhatsApp, no nothing. Yeah. And I put this little, I saw this place in London. I went back over to London, found out what it was, and it was running VoIP calls over phone lines. and found out a supplier and got a VoIP router. And this was like putting calls over the internet and being able to build them in real time, which was unheard of. And then I ended up with about 13 of those.
How did you fund it, Pat? Like, because you were a chef, were you?
Credit union.
Oh, really? Right, okay.
Nothing fancy. Just told a load of lies about holidays and cars, and we've all been there, You remember I was telling you about those fighting guys? It's very different.
Exactly.
I was arguing with you on Twitter, you know what I mean? So I find that part very, very funny. So that was it. Borrowed, loans, friends, etc., and had a good few of these, and cash flow then started going well. So then, which was the first real step, people started telling me about that they wanted to make the calls at home. That I was kind of only open from 10 to 10, and they didn't finish work till late at night. They slept late. They didn't want to get up in the morning, but they wanted to ring their family, which was Asian time, which is after midnight kind of they could finish work. And I'd seen phone cards somewhere, I can't remember where, so I figured that out and built probably the biggest phone card company in Ireland. So I used to supply all of Moore Street. Remember all those doors selling the phone cards? I was their supplier.
Oh my God.
And I supply every non-national shop in the country, Pakistani butchers, Nigerian food shops. And
how did you get into it, Pat? I mean, did you go door knocking yourself, or how?
Door knocking myself.
Wow. Door
knocking myself, and then I took someone on, and we got our distributors, and we ended up Ireland, England, France, Ireland, UK, France, Denmark, Italy, and that went super well. And we started buying big switches, Cisco 5400s. So we put them in Dublin and hosting, and then we started buying wholesale direct from carriers. And then we started putting VoIP boxes in other countries like Bulgaria to buy cheap Eastern Europe rates, because by that stage the Poles were here, Slovakia and Slovenians, they were all coming to Ireland. Eastern Europeans, Latvians. I'm very lucky to have a Latvian daughter-in-law. And they all want to call home. So I was able to buy wholesale, and that went super well. I remember it was probably the weirdest business day ever. I was in Moore Street delivering phone cards, and one of my Chinese wholesalers, Sammy, said to me, "Oh, have you seen that Vodafone have China now for 5 cents direct from your mobile?" Gone. A couple of weeks later, this was the iPhone. A couple of weeks later, Viber came out, and there was no more long distance phone calls. Everybody went over IP. Yeah. And then funny enough, I remember Dennis O'Brien. I was at Ernst & Young, and Dennis O'Brien was talking about, well, we're going to charge all these guys for access to our pipes, the Facebooks and the WhatsApps and the Vibers. That's who owns the internet now. It's the layer on top. The carriers are just dumb pipes. Like they didn't see they would be, and they didn't invest early enough.
Missed opportunity there.
Who pays for long distance? Nobody.
Yeah, that's actually it's very, very true. So was that through Cubic Telecom with the cards?
No. So everything I build kind of solves a problem.
Right.
So I sold that to IDT, which is a pretty big international.
Oh, so you actually sold it. So there was something left in it to sell.
Yeah. I think they're still the biggest phone cards in the world distributor, but I don't know how they exist or anything.
Yeah.
But when I go to the States, I see they have a card called Big Boss, and I see it everywhere. So there must be something still in it. And then I'd been traveling all the time, non-stop, getting those. We all forget them now, but those €1,000 or £1,000 or whatever a month roaming bills. If you remember, like you'd be afraid to turn on the phone and waiting to get the Wi-Fi. And I said, Jesus, this must be easy enough to solve. And I started building Cubic, and that went on for a long time. Very successful, hugely successful now. I sold out of it a good few years ago. And Cubic, I think now is the largest supplier of car connectivity in the world.
Wow, that's
moved out of roaming, obviously, because and I'm very like, it's probably one of my proudest moments to say, I think I had a fairly good hand in the end of roaming.
Well, you
It was
certainly knew
very
where the crack
unfair
was.
because there was no
Yeah.
one, it was only the consumer paid for it.
Mm,
Because what happened was the carriers balanced each other.
yeah.
A lot of Irish people go to England, a lot of English people go to Ireland, and at the end of the month, there was just a balancing between the carriers and it was thrown away. So like the only place that's done really well out of roaming and made extraordinary money was the US because lots of people came in, but lots of people didn't come out in relation as a percentage.
After you finished your time in Quebec, you obviously got a few bob from that, and you had a few bob from your card company.
Yeah.
And then where did life take you next?
We had a load of fraud in Quebec because we were selling SIM cards and airtime. I thought the tools there were very weak. I thought that computers could make better decisions than people. And I thought we didn't see enough information about the person who was actually buying. This is Pat Phelan. He's from X address. Does this address exist? Does this address match the IP address? Is this where his mobile phone is based? And I thought, if I could have seen this, I could have made intelligent decisions, or a machine could have made intelligent decisions. And myself and Chris Kennedy, who was my first employee at Quebec, we decided we'd like to work together. And we spent quite a bit of time thinking about it. And I think we had two ideas. We had an idea to stop fraud.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, which I loved, but I don't think it's still been solved, was online advertising based upon sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could scrape everybody's social media in real time and look at their language and build algorithms around this, you could sell people happy shit when they're happy and sad shit when they're sad. So you know what I mean? If you're saying like, oh, it's a desperate day, I'm feeling upset today, don't put me ads for flowers,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's still being worked on. MIT have been at it for a long, long time. So we made the right decision. And so we started Trustdev and raised some money. And with really good investors, Greycroft in New York, Mangrove in Luxembourg, ACT in Ireland, Notion Capital in London, who, have become like, especially Greycroft and Notion have become, one of the top level players in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved to New York. And the reason I moved to New York was that the majority of the customer base was American. And I remember one particular Friday where there was a storm in New York. I got soaked to the skin. I rushed to JFK to get the last flight home. I was out in the airport and I got a phone call from the guy I'd met that morning asking, could I come back?
Oh, man.
And I couldn't. And because I had things to do at home. And I just thought, this isn't going to work out. I was in America every second week. And I got a visa. And that took a while. Moved to New York. Loved it. Really, really loved it. And still do. I think it's an amazing country. I think it's one of the few countries left where immigrants have the opportunity to dramatically change the path of their lives because they're workers. And that scaled in New York to about 20 people and scaled in Cork to about 80 people. We'd only raised a good seed round and we were just doing the A round, and we'd been working on a project with a large retailer in the US around credit scoring and risk and fraud. And we were working with this company called TransUnion, who at the time were a credit bureau and were a private company. And they said, look, this thing's going really well. We'd like to bring you in. They kind of put a lower sum up front, but put a huge earnout.
Right.
So we hit they bought us. We hit the earnout. And I stayed for 3 years, and I stayed for another year on the consultancy board. So I left there, and that was it.
Did you ever worry throughout Trustdev's lifetime that you may not succeed? Were things always going in the right direction for the company?
No, startups don't work like that, I love Liam Casey. The plane goes off the edge of the cliff, and you build a parachute on your way down.
Yeah,
and that's kind of it. We were going bust every Friday.
Yes,
to scrape wages and Like it's the part I find hard where you have to tell everyone everything's amazing
Yeah.
and only you know. And,
Yeah.
we've all been through that pain. Every one of us have sat there Friday evening when they're all gone home and bawled crying.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? How am I going to pay them? They're all sound. This is all on me. Jesus, we got this wrong. I remember, John Peavoy, who's a gentleman, and John was our first salesman. And until we really figured out how to sell, we were promising everything to everyone. And I'd come home from being in London with John, meeting mobile carriers, and I tell the tech team, I'm after promising this. Oh, yeah, but that's not what we do. Yeah, but they'll give us some money. It was just keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. And then, when we got the product spot on, which was, we knew what the market required then. And there was a lot of meetings and listening and learning, and that week we had a wheel and we had all these inputs, and TransUnion was an input, and you could make a transaction. I could say, this is Emer. Is this mobile owned by Emer? What's the billing address for that mobile? Is she using a VPN? What's cracked the VPN? What's behind the VPN? Where is she? What's the computer? Have we seen the computer before? We've seen the IP. I'm making these hundreds of decisions in real time. And these decisions were, in essence, to answer as Emer.
In a previous company that I worked for, in the early days, at least 10% of all of the orders accounted for fraudulent activity. And
I don't think people understand what fraud is. The average person doesn't. Under long distance selling rules, which means if I sell you this online and you've stolen someone else's credit card, I'm 100% at risk for 6 months. So that person who bought that can come along and say, that wasn't me. And I have to refund. The bank or the credit card company has to take their customer's opinion.
Yeah.
And they have to take that immediately out of my account. So the key for me is to ensure that, one, the correct person is buying, and two, that I have an actual trust score on the transaction. We spent months at this, meeting people, sales, beating our head off walls until we really discovered a niche for us, which was don't talk to the fraud people.
Yeah.
Talk to the marketing people.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're spending all these budget, driving all these people to the site. And what happened was the fraud engines then, as they were, had an awful lot of false positives. So if you think about it, Pat's in Spain on holidays and decides to buy a new computer. In those days, that transaction would be rejected because the IP address of Spain doesn't match the IP address of my credit card. And that was the first blunt rule that was established in fraud. If the IP address that they're buying from doesn't match the IP address of the credit card, reject the transaction. So people had a reject rate of 20%, and we were able to dramatically change the reject rate whilst keeping the fraud rate sub 0.25%, and you were transforming people in real time.
Fraudulent activity has a huge impact on the bottom line. So you're
terrible because it takes you 600 more transactions to make up your margin on one iPhone.
That's exactly it. And then, of course, back in the early days, I don't even know if they still do it or not, but I remember the guards coming knocking on the door and saying, Mrs. Murphy, can we look up the details there? Can you get the IP address of, whoever placed that order? And you think about it, it was such an archaic way of...
Yeah, and what happens now is people say, it's gone.
Yeah.
They don't even report it anymore. But the key is to keep it within a marginal loss.
Yeah.
And right now that margin is somewhere 0.1%.
Yeah.
When we started, it was 1 to 5%.
Yeah, wow. So
that's been reduced dramatically. And there's loads of people in the space, and it became busy, and all the guys that were there are still there. Very few have had exits. So I think we were correct to get out when we got out.
Are you happy to be gone out of it?
I really liked it, but I suppose it's made sure that my grandkids never have to worry and their kids never have to worry. Hopefully, it's been very stabilizing family wise.
Yeah.
I've no interest. I'm not a. I know people say it now, but I have zero interest in money. It's not a. It's not a big driver for me. But it was great. It was great to have it removed.
The worry.
That worry.
I think Trustev, in the early days, I know how hard you guys worked, and there wasn't an opening of a packet of crisps that you weren't at in order to propel the company and get it out there. And then you're door knocking then after, and you're moved to the States.
But sure, you gave us our first gig.
I did actually. My God, yeah.
People might forget that.
That was on RT, yeah.
Yeah, but there was something above in Dublin as well, that you ran an event and we
That's right.
spoke at it, or that was our first ever event.
That's right, Pitchify. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you were interviewed on the 9:00 news that night.
That's right. People forget that stuff. Like, we were just too well, I was an old fella. Chris Kennedy was a young fella. We were just starting out, and for that success, and I look at it now, and I look at a huge crew up at the airport. Chris Kennedy is off building his next big thing.
Is he? Brilliant.
I look at all the team who are, mortgage free, and that's the part I love. Jerry Kennelly says it best. We arrived on bikes and we left in Porsches.
But you worked damn hard. It wasn't handed to you either.
No. Listen, we worked. We worked like savages. We really did. We worked. I was at the one a week where I wasn't flying internationally.
I remember when you were using Foursquare and checking into all of these places all around the world.
There was no 5-star hotels any had been checked into.
No. And I remember that day getting a phone call from you from New York, and you told me that you were getting out of Trustev, or you were exiting from TransUnion. And you said, do you want to know what my next gig is? And I said, oh, what is it going to be? Because knowing you, it'll be whatever. And then you told me you're going into aesthetics, and I was like, what?
I remember that. That was funny.
And then, so I said, really? And then I was like, for what type of aesthetics? And you were like, Botox and all of this sort of stuff. And I was like, really, Pat? And then I noticed a huge transformation in you. Like, you turned your life around a number of times with your addiction to alcohol and, I suppose your fitness now. What was it that prompted you in changing your lifestyle 360 again?
I don't think you can be a poster boy for this, or not even a poster boy, but you know what I mean. I don't think you can be the CEO of an aesthetic clinic when you're 5 stone overweight, for a start. Also, I'd begun to get sick, and I'd begun to get tired. I think this lifestyle of, you fly New York to Portland, you get into Portland 11 o'clock at night, you've stopped somewhere, you've eaten one of these giant airport hot dogs or rolls or something, Diet Coke, packet of peanuts for the plane, you sat down, you fell asleep, you woke up, you got into the hotel, it was TransUnion, so everything was, the really good hotels, they looked after us amazingly well. And, you had a burger and chips in the room before you went to bed. And I just gained an awful lot of weight. And I've always loved clothes, I've always loved clothes. And I was kind of in big baggy sweatshirts and chinos. And I just felt tired all the time. And I felt I always needed to have sweet stuff around. And looking back, it was probably onset of type 2 diabetes. But I just decided to make a change, and I said, I kind of thought that the only thing that would force me to change would be publicize the shit out of it, so I couldn't go backwards. And I started putting every workout on Instagram at the time, and I don't do that anymore. But I put some, but I used to I still do a lot of weight training, and I used to throw all the weight training up there. And I know people who say, he's got a desperate ego, that guy. And it wasn't for them at all. It was for me.
Exactly.
So it was a kind of a check-in. And then I started finding the tech. And that kind of really helped, because I love measuring stuff. Because if I can't measure it, I don't know. That's the way I look at it. And, the Apple Watch, and especially Whoop, I'd be thinking about what was next. And I'd been, I work quite closely with Liam Casey. He'd be a great kind of a bellwether. I just find him very logical. I had introduced him to the Collisons,
Oh, yeah, the Conson brothers.
When I had no money and he became Stripe's first investor. I met the two of them. They said, we're thinking about starting kind of an online bank. And I introduced them to Liam, and there's history. So Liam's come in and everything since. And, he done well out of Trust of. And I had this idea that beauty, I kept seeing queues for beauty places in New York. And I had this idea, beauty's going to change the world. Beauty's going to change the world. And this is pre-Kardashians and pre-products and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my first idea was a toothbrush. It's around the time of Dollar Shave Club, and I was thinking that, you buy the head of the electric toothbrush, and we'd supply you with 3 heads a quarter and tooth foam, because foam works better, even though they don't sell it. Tooth foam and, a mouthwash, and it would become a D2C platform. And Jesus, I was annoying people with it, and Liam was going to build it. And I remember ringing Conor Murphy, and Conor Murphy said, I'll give you money for it. Let's do it. And I kind of pulled at the last minute. And so there's the huge one now called Quip, QUIP.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That was that. And but beauty, it's stuck in the back of my mind. This is going to become, a multi-billion vertical. At the time, it was kind of a bit staid. And I spotted Blow Bar or Dry Bar, which is where, women go to get their hair blown out on the way to work. And there used to be a queue every morning, and the one by Bryant Park, by the skating rink, there used to be a queue. And I said, Jesus, I wonder how much it is. So I went in anyway, and they told me $65. It's a lot of dough, My two buddies, well, one buddy in particular, Dr. James Connor, they had an aesthetic clinic in Cork, and the two of them were doctors, and it had kind of been a sideline, pay student loans, etc. And it was getting kind of serious. And I was helping them with web and companies and legals and just giving a hand, friends kind of stuff, I'm sure you're annoyed about marketing every day, And that was kind of it, If this could be branded, I think it could be global. That took about a year or more of convincing, because I was only back 1 month a quarter. And then I'd meet him for coffee, James, and we'd be, but James, what about this? Look at this, look at this. And they'd be sending stuff constantly. Eventually, we came together, and a new company was formed. It acquired their clinics, and that's called Sisu. And 7 clinics, Cork, 3 in Dublin, Killarney, Limerick, and Belfast.
What is Sisu, and where did you get the name from?
Sisu, the name came from a marketing agency or branding agency called New World, who had actually done all the brand work for lots of Liam Casey stuff, but they had done the brand work for Trustive as well. They're amazing. Gary and his team there in Dublin, NEWORLD. And we went and we stayed there for 2 days, and we told them the story of the guys and my story. And they came up with a number of brands, and they came up with Sisu. And the minute we saw it, I just said, yeah, that's it. The 3 of us, And it's a Finnish word. It's like determination and spirit. And you get it at the end of a marathon. And it's like an internal feeling. So that kind of fit with what we wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So we launched that. It's gone exceptionally well. We have 7 clinics. We're very late stage fundraising for New York. We would have been in New York now, only for the flu.
Touch of a cold there.
So yeah, it's been a really interesting, and it's a clinic, and it's doctor only, and we do injectable treatments, Botox, fillers, lips, and we also do teeth whitening, and we also do face therapy, facials, and we have about 50 people all over the country. It was trading very well.
Yeah, was trading very well.
Obviously, it's closed now.
I really like the makeup of your clinics. They're so clean, modern looking, and welcoming. And
they all look the same.
They all look the same, yeah.
Everything looks exactly the same. It was the first kind of brand in the space. There's loads of clinics. There's no shortage of places to get Botox or to get dermal fillers. There's obviously a shortage of place to get it with doctors. I'd like you to come to Sisu. If you don't, please go somewhere where it's a doctor, not a dietitian or not a beautician, get a medical professional. Not a nurse, get a medical professional, because we see so many botch cases from people who didn't go to medical professions or medical professionals. But it's a nice business. It's fun. The three of us are still there. We raised about $1 million early on, and that would be from Irish and international business people, Dan Kiley, Liam Casey, number of others, high net worth Irish, and we like it. And at the same time, I've been investing away in other stuff that I like with my family's money.
Mm-hmm. Playing with the inheritance.
That's if there's anything left for them. I think they'd be scratching their head going, Jesus, I wonder how this is going to go. I think what I'm good at is I'm good at marketing. I think I'm pretty good at sizing opportunity. I have a great network, which is the most important thing. But of course, everybody's good at marketing, you know.
Of course. Everybody
always.
Experts.
Very close. Very close. Like I always laugh because I used to have these, trusted round tables.
Yeah.
And there'd be Rorik Bradbury was our last CMO. And you'd have this joint round table and there'd be a discussion on marketing. Everyone hands up. I find people completely underrate the skills that are in marketing. And, as a marketer, I presume that's very difficult for you. But it also bugs the shit out of me.
It really does, even for myself. Like, I think marketing is very undervalued in an organization because sometimes it's not very quantifiable. But remove it from the bigger picture and you'll soon know its value. I think what's important is the interconnection between sales and marketing is absolutely vital for a business.
Absolutely.
To succeed,
Absolutely. I think the selling and the marketeer has to be living in the same room. Even at Sisu, we didn't take away a single penny out of our marketing budget.
Really, yeah?
None. You'll still see all our retargeting is running, all our Google ads is running. I find that in a downturn, it's the first thing to go, which is absolutely stupid. Because what happens then is people start forgetting you very quickly. The attention span of the consumer is very short. And if you want to remove yourself from the attention span of the consumer, you're making a big mistake, in my opinion.
And even from a competitive point of view, if you're turning off your AdWords, your competitor, if they're running their AdWords, they're going to have a higher quality score than you. You can't just turn it off and turn it back on again. A bit like the economy at the moment. But
Exactly.
and then expect for everything to be normal, because it doesn't work like that. And I'm interested about that, actually. We're in lockdown. We still are. In inverted commas, lockdown. Your business has been affected because
dramatically.
Yeah, talk to me about that. And how do you feel about that? Do you think we should be speeding it up? Or what's your thoughts?
We closed 2 weeks before everybody else. We just thought, this is here. Let's get out there. Let's protect our staff and protect ourselves. And more importantly, protect our patients. So we closed, and we've been closed. Is it 11 weeks?
11 weeks, yeah, this week, yeah.
Yeah. Been painful, because people forget, like our landlords have been helpful.
And what about your staff?
Our staff are great. I have this little WhatsApp group, and I mean, they've all been furloughed, and some are on the 350 and some aren't. Some are on the other schemes.
Subsidiary payment, yeah.
A subsidiary thing. And I think it's pretty difficult. You'd miss people, and I think I'll give you an example. One of my best friends has 2 pubs in New York, Irish guy, really successful, and he got a $700,000 grant. And if you look this morning, it's a bit embarrassing, really, to even talk about how poor the response has been for business. The government borrows money at the moment at 0.7%. It gives that to lenders that it recommends business to borrow off, and the same lenders try to get 6% for you, off you, which is 10 times markup on money, which is the same price as the banks. There are in reality no grants, because the grants that have been issued are based upon your rates, which will fall due, which you have to pay, which is idiotic.
Yeah.
So we have one clinic in Belfast. We got a £25,000 restart grant, free. Wow. And we got our rates deferred for a year. In every other clinic, we got our rates deferred for 3 months. Now, They're deferred them or closed. When and with what are we supposed to pay them? There's nothing about, a slight ramp or. And am I worried? Of course I am.
Mm.
Have I not slept? Of course I haven't.
Mm.
There are people depending on me. It's the same thing. We still had to pay all our bills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything that was due, percentages of our rent, but they
Your
fall
VAT.
due as,
Yeah.
or VAT, they fall due as well. And
Yeah.
you're kind of looking at a balance that's gone from superbly healthy to lower.
Mm.
And now what you've got to do is you have to drop more money into the marketing machine to spin up the wheels even faster.
Yeah.
And, I think we're also dealing with a government that's, a little bit too scientific based.
Mm.
And have they done a good job? Somewhat. I think business doesn't have a big enough seat at the table. And if you were looking at the SME loans this morning, announcement from Heather Humphreys, the Minister for Business, that SMEs have availed of 11 million in grants. The backbone of the country, or 11 million in loans. How can you borrow to get back?
If you have a huge amount of money already owed, you owe your VAT, you owe your rates, you owe this, you owe that. And then you're thinking, Jesus, now I'm going to take out either a grant or a loan from some institution. How am I actually physically going to pay this back? And how many clients do I need in order to get this back? And I don't know about you, Pat. I know you're in a different space to me. But when all of this happened, I lost 30 clients in 1 week. Right?
Yeah.
It just literally went. Everybody's paused their marketing. I was left with a very small number of clients. I had staff I needed to pay. I needed to kind of keep an office, everything to kind of keep going. And I was really thinking to myself, how am I going to do this? Now, thankfully, the subsidiary payment to the 70/30 was there. That was good, I felt. But
yes.
the restart is just abysmal. I don't pay rates on my office. I pay rent, and I've always paid rent because it's built into the overall package that I'm on. How on earth do I qualify for anything? My clients are ringing me back up now and saying, yeah, Emer, look at we definitely want to come back on with you. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. But at a 50% reduction or at, I mean, how can you open the doors again? It's going to be impossible.
It's going to be, people say to me, oh, it'll come back. And I've no doubt it will. I don't worry about June, July, or August at all. I'm really incredibly worried about September, October, November.
Why so?
Because there's going to be a bit of pent-up demand here.
Mm-hmm.
There's been intense saving, I believe. If you were on 350 or, you've probably been indoors, you haven't, your traditional spending, I think, might be lower.
For
So
sure.
I think there's going to be demand. But I think what will happen is, if you were to look now at pubs, restaurant, bars, 2 meter, tourism is gone.
Yeah.
I just think for me, I think we're going into, and I think it's been pretty widely written about, I think we're going into a kind of a mid-80s type recession, where I think it's going to be longer. I think if we go into that and it's longer, a lot of good people won't make it.
Yes, I seen that you were tweeting about a friend of yours down in Cork that had to close her business.
Hairdresser. She's had two engineers in there, really good friend. She's had 2 engineers in there. It can only be stylists. It can't be apprentices. With the 2 meters, there can only be 2 people working there at any one time. You can't use hair dryers because of blow. And like, you should see this place now. This isn't, this wasn't a cheap job.
Yeah.
It's stunning. And she was with her accountant 2 weeks ago, and the accountant told her that she'd have to work on average 84 hours a week herself.
Wow.
And she's a single mom. Plus, the big problem here, and this drives me nuts, is women. Because what's going to happen next is that there's no kindergartens, there's no nurseries, there's no daycare. There's going to be a husband and wife in the same house. Both have to work and need to work. Traditionally, what happens is the man is the higher earner And I'm not saying that to be sexist. I'm just saying it to be
a fact.
realist.
Yeah.
It's a fact. So the man is going to go back to work, and the woman's going to be left with the kids, and she's going to have to give up her career.
You're transported back into the 1970s.
Jesus Christ, like, it's insane.
Yeah,
it's insane. Like, the key here, get the two people back to work, get the kindergartens, nurseries, etc., get those open, get them open safely. But like, what we're hearing is the most mixed up, jumbled story. The CMO says it's 2 meters on a Friday. Leo says if you're good boys, we can have a meter on a Saturday. And you're thinking, is anyone on the same page here? The minister says we've loads of grants coming. These grants come out, and they're grants to pay rates. It's like this morning, the Cork guys talking about one-way pedestrianised streets. Like, you're going, what? Pardon? You're going to only allow people to walk one way up certain streets. Won't that half the business for the shops on the streets? Oh, yeah, we never thought of that. I just think there's, and plus as well, you know, you have a load of guys who are in there, you know, trying to save their own skin and become government.
Yes.
I have no belief in politics. There are very few people in politics who think about us rather than them.
I tend to agree with you, Pat, and especially when it comes to business. And it was something that I actually raised with when I interviewed Mary Lou McDonald a couple of weeks ago. You know, they've had all of this time from when we entered into lockdown until now. Now, for God's sake, surely to God, they were working. Why couldn't they have got the best brains around the table and said, right, how are we going to kickstart this economy in the right way to ensure that we protect SMEs, which are the lifeblood of this country? And what did they do? The first announcement, which was absolute horseshit, was the grant for €2,500 that you could go off and spend with somebody to advise you.
Who hasn't a website?
Yeah, well, there you go.
You can get 2,500 for the web. Who hasn't a website? Tell me. And then, you know, I was told, you know, if you talk to Enterprise Ireland, I said, Enterprise Ireland is export driven. So you have two government bodies, the two main government bodies, Enterprise Ireland, who, you know, I wouldn't be a fan of. And you have the IDA, who I'm a huge fan of, who bring international firms in. But you have no one in the middle for the SME, who are the guys who contribute everything. Yeah. We're the guys who have 10 or 20 people working for us, up to 50 people mostly, working for us. And we contribute the most to the economy. I just think it's completely lost. And I despair looking at them, because I know they're going to walk out someday this week and go, all the stuff we told you we were elected on, we can't do it, but it's all for the good of the country. Yeah. We're taking a bullet for you. Like this announcement the other day, you know, we're giving up our raise this year. I've never drawn a salary. I haven't drawn a salary in 3 years. I just haven't, because I don't need it. So it allows us to accelerate growth at Sisu. That I don't take, and it's better that I don't take a salary.
You're making the sacrifices, and you know, in order for the betterment of your company, and hopefully, please God, one day you'll exit the company again, like you did it with TrustDev. But then, of course, you could be hammered on the other side there with your capital gains tax, because we don't like entrepreneurs.
I look at entrepreneurs. I paid every penny in Ireland, and I had no requirement to do so. Yep. I have the best advice in the world at Ernst & Young, Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year finalist, so I have that backup. I have no need to pay capital gains if I felt like it. Very easy, offshore it, limited company, it disappears. I paid all my capital gains. I've paid all my capital gains every time. I'll pay all my capital gains again this year. Should I ever sell Sisu, I'll pay all my capital gains in Ireland, 33%. If I was employed by Sisu, I would be paying my income tax plus capital gains.
Yeah.
It's
ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's a very large sum. And it's grand. Listen, I'm not playing the poor mout or anything. Just if anybody's watching, I'm certainly not the poor mout. But I'm just saying I had easier ways to do it, and I chose not to, because I was on the dole here as well. And Ireland was super good to me when I didn't have it.
Pat, I was listening, I don't know if you were listening to Brendan yesterday on RTE Radio 1, and Bertie Ahern was on. he basically said the way in which all of this is going to work for the government is Micheál Martin, he'll get the first term as Taoiseach and he'll, roll out all the niceties and so on. And then for the second term, Fine Gael will have to come in with what is the only word, which is austerity. We're definitely facing. And I just thought to myself, Jesus, is this all that we have as a country to look forward to? Is more of the same crap over and over and over again. But I tell you,
but that's all we do. We're built upon this. The nation is built upon boom bust economies.
Yeah.
Like I saw it this morning now that Pascal was coming out saying that the pension age will have to go. I know we promised it, but it'll have to go. Sorry.
Yeah.
And you're going like, hold a second. You promised that. Mm. And I think, the Greens, like, they're the worst scumbags of all.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they're going to give up everything. They're going to give up everything they promised. Yeah. They're going to give up again. And they're all going to say, we have to save the country, lads. Yeah. And it's all about money and it's all about salary. And I look at them and I'm going, look right now. Right now. Look at someone who's up there that you can say they're up there actually thinking about me. Yeah. The average dude on the street.
They're not. They're not. Absolutely not.
And just to be clear, it could be a lot worse. We could have east or west of us.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
But I'm just saying all we seem to do, and it's extraordinarily frustrating, all we seem to do is think about it in length of government life cycles.
Yeah.
Rather than I look at the Nordic countries and I'm a big fan, and they're thinking about generations.
Yes.
And generations of wealth. And, if you look at a lot of the Norwegian state fund, and I know they've had oil, but we had oil as well. We gave it away.
And gas. We gave that away as well off the coast of Mayo.
If you look at it, I don't know, are we naive or innocent, or we just get what we deserve,
I think there's a lot of egos and personalities at play, more so than thinking about the individual on the street. I have no faith in politics in this country. I'm not anyway.
The same lads are there forever.
They're there forever, and it's just jobs for the boys, and that's basically it. And how Fianna Fáil, I get really, really aggrieved to this because I finished my master's in 2009, at the height of the collapse of the country, and Bertie Ahern on the radio, I remember vividly, which isn't that long time, it isn't a long time ago at all, him saying everybody should go out right now and buy shares in the banks. And I remember that vividly in an interview. I was driving home from work in Sandyford, working in a job that I hated, but I needed to have a job after I finished college. And then everything I remember the lads on a given day walking off one of the biggest building sites there at the Beacon, and walking off the site. And that was the end of that building for whatever amount of years before they started construction on it again. And I just feel we're history repeating itself over and over and over again. And here we are, less than probably give or take 11, 12 years since the last collapse. And we're at it again. I know that this is a different situation, but surely to God, we can come up with ways to be able to protect people, citizens of this country.
I think as well, we couldn't save the banks until we could. If you remember.
Yes.
They were going to go bust, and all of a sudden the Troika arrived with the big dough, and they were saved. And if you look at it now, I'm not sure if you know the numbers, but the investments we made in the banks have been decimated. So I think we're down 30 billion again. Down on what we put in. We're desperate for wanting to rescue stuff. Instead of saying it's a free capital economy, what doesn't make it, doesn't make it, and stop being embarrassed. I think there's a thing in Cork, and I always say it, it's, I remember him when he had fuck all.
Yeah.
We all had fuck all. And I think people need to get over that, it's putting people on pedestals. And I think we've always protected things. And now what we need to do is we're going to be a free economy. If the bank can't make it, the bank can't make it. One of them will.
Now, on another note, you backed Paddy Cosgrave from the beginning in relation to...
Always and ever.
Yeah. And he was really touting, Ireland for change. And
He was proved correct in everything he said.
Why do you think that the journalists were not interested in covering the story in relation to the lack of PPE in nursing homes?
They were told not to cover it. There's no, I mean, like me and Paddy are friends, have been for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah.
I admire Paddy desperately. I'm a fanboy, if that's the word. And we were talking to those people. I kind of started out being fairly cranky about this thing and the way it was being handled. And I just saw the nurses had problems getting to work. And I brought a few people together and we got 300 cars fairly rapidly to get nurses to work. And then people saw me as kind of a bellwether and started messaging me. And one of the early ones to message me was nursing homes and private nursing home owners. And they said, look, there's people dying here. We're snowed under. They won't give us gear. They won't test. And I was like, Jesus Christ, what? And I was speaking in my living room, and I was like, no, this is wrong. You're not telling the truth. They can't be leaving people die there. Oh, yeah, they are. They won't give us oxygen tanks. Like, you're looking at this going, what? And then I got on to Paddy, and Paddy took it up. And like, if you look at Paddy's tweets over all of this and then look back, I believe every single one was 100% correct. Yeah. And what he's attracted now is a bit of fascism who agrees with him, which are kind of not the people you want to, Paddy was amazing in this. Absolutely amazing. He bought in all that PPE, as did Liam and Bono, by the way.
Yeah, and Conor McGregor.
And Conor McGregor. So the lads all bought in tons of stuff. They had it sitting there. And whatever happened, because Paddy wasn't playing ball with the government, they didn't want Paddy's stuff.
I just find that remarkable.
Like people, he went off to Lisbon. Did he hell? There's 250 people working up in Dublin. All super, them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no one on 35 grand a year.
No.
These are the highest end, AI, marketing, etc. It's a huge company. Yeah. It's based in Ireland. It pays its taxes in Ireland. And like you look at Paddy's history, you know what I mean? His grandfather was one of the founders of Ansbacher. He's up to his neck in it as much as the rest of them.
Yeah.
And he's come out and said, no, this isn't the way Ireland should be built from now on.
Why is it that people hate him that much? Because you do see a lot of towards him on Twitter.
I think because he speaks the truth.
Yeah.
And I think it's because it doesn't suit agendas. And it doesn't suit particular agendas. I mean, how long did it take, genuinely? The hard questions for the CMO and the government didn't start until a fake person made their way into that press. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Some lady from Galway who pretended to be a journalist. It wasn't until then the hard questions started. And right now, nobody knows where they are. Is it 2 miles, 5 miles, 20 miles? I can't go to see my auntie in Killarney, but I can fly to see my son in Madrid.
Yeah.
I was screaming. I got so much hassle. I was screaming for quarantine. They were wandering off the fucking planes in the dozens.
Yeah, that's right, Jen. Yeah.
And nobody's, they're all workers. Are they? Hell. Have a look around Dublin, the Spanish students. Where did they come from, would you mind telling me?
Exactly. Where did they come
from? I know they're talking about quarantine. Sure, it's too late.
Too late. The horse is bolted.
We're on our way out of quarantine now.
Yeah.
So, I think we've been super slow on everything. And I think we've been dramatically lucky. I don't think that's down to everything we put in place. It just didn't hit in the manner we thought it would. And we completely, if you were to take, I think it's 84 people above the age of 65. Or under the age of 65, which is terrible if you're one of those 84. And I don't mean to demean it, but I think at the end of the day, we've destructed the economy, and we can use imaginary fingers like 13,000, 130,000 would have died. We don't know that. But I tell you what, if we'd have closed our borders earlier, those Italian cases wouldn't have come in, the American cases wouldn't have come in, and the strains in Ireland are American and Italian.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
We're slow to react to everything. And now we want to make a bit of a pariah out of Michael O'Leary. Come on.
Michael O'Leary, the other Paddy Cosgrove.
A huge employer in the country, never ever give up being based here, never give up paying his taxes here.
And he had loads of opportunities to go elsewhere.
Tons and tons. But then we admire the people who went to Portugal and who went to Malta, you know? I don't get it.
What date is Sisu reopening? Do you have a date as of yet?
I don't as of yet. We'll reopen. I suppose it's like everything else, you know? But there's loads of aesthetic clinics open already.
Is there?
Yeah.
How are they opening when the hairdressers isn't even open?
No, who knows?
How come they're not?
But they're open. They're on Instagram open. But that's none of my business.
You're not going to go and rat on them.
Not in a million years. They're not our patients. We look after our patients when we come back. We'll be back because everyone in Sisu is a patient, not a client.
Yes, just about to say
not a customer. We'll come back and we'll open when it's the safest possible for our patients. And that's the best thing about doctor-led, because it was me, I'd open today, but it's not me.
As you well know, I'm big into gadgets just as much as you are. I got myself Whoop, which is a tracker will allow you to explain it. What do you think are going to be the next moves over the next 12 months in the fitness industry? And what big trends do you see happening?
Whoop tells me my variable heart rate. Variable heart rate tells me, I think it tells me how fit I am to train.
Mm-hmm.
So it was high today, so I gave a real good push today. Now that could be a bit suggestive, but I think it's ahead of anything out there. I think one of the hard things about this has been fitness has big gaps. Coaches are difficult to come by. They're really expensive. You go into a gym tomorrow and there's a good chance it's some young fella, you know, who's done a CIT course or something and is trying to tell you about diet and is trying to tell you about fitness, and you know, he's not a dietitian. And he's probably he works in a gym. So I think there's huge opportunity in virtualized coaching. I think there's huge opportunity in stuff that I've invested in, like Luke, which is going to look from the inside out. And it's going to tell you how able you are, or what's your blood sugar levels, where they should be, how your diet should be, and actually telling you a truth rather than a suggestion.
Right. Interesting. Is it Irish? Is it developed in Ireland, or is it?
It's developed in Ireland, yeah. Developed in Cork, actually. There's a multinational team, but it is Irish. I'm an investor in it, early investor, the first investor in it, actually. There are a number of others now. It's connected into my arm.
When you say connected now, so I asked you about this a couple of weeks ago. When you say connected, what do you mean?
It's a sensor that's installed into my arm. It doesn't hurt.
Is it under your skin, like?
It's not under my skin. It's on top of my skin, but it pierces my skin.
Okay, pierces your skin. In order to get a reading for glucose, I presume.
For glucose and blood sugar.
Right, okay.
So it's reading that in real time. I'll give you an example.
Right.
Of what it does and things that I've learned. 3 things, really quickly. 1, I love sweets. Biggest problem. Chips and fish and chips and all this kind of stuff. Could never care. But give me a packet of Clove Rocks and there's a great chance I'll marry you.
Old school.
So I sit down, watch a movie last Saturday week, eat a packet of Clove Rocks, the whole packet, probably in 30 minutes. I'm fast asleep in 30 minutes, out cold. I wake up and I'm very fit, healthy, you know, nothing wrong. I'm not diabetic, I'm not pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes, anything like that. Train every day or most days. So I'm in really good condition, I think. I wake up with a fright, crawl the stairs to bed, go to bed, wake up next morning, temperature, felt like I hadn't slept, felt sick, etc. And I look up the Luke and my bloods had gone from 5.5 to 11.9 in 30 minutes, skyrocket. My body, while I was asleep, had spent 5 hours trying to get my blood sugar levels back down. So if you think of your body like a CPM, like a computer, and it does other things while you sleep to refresh you, slows down the computer, gets your breathing right, and you go into this deep sleep. My body was working the whole night. So I woke up massively dehydrated, massively. I woke up with very low blood sugars. That's the last time I've eaten sweets.
Really?
Because I just gee, if I hadn't that information, I would thinking I was sick.
Yeah.
I would have
just think,
spent the
I
day
didn't sleep
thinking,
well. Yeah.
I didn't sleep well. I have a temperature. What's wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
Couple of other things. Fasted cardio.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's that people agree and people disagree.
Yeah.
Does faster cardio works 100%.
Right.
I can see what it does to my blood sugar.
What does it do to your blood sugar?
Massive spike
Really?
while you're cardio, so that's burning fat.
Wow.
Like very high, very, very. Training wise, so I would have trained upon what I like.
Mm-hmm.
And now I understand that right now, what really, really works for your blood sugar, super heavy weights for 15 minutes. Insanely heavy, creating this fight or flight mode.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see down the other side, your blood sugars go up and they have a very low slant off the other side, whereas cardio brings it up and down. Cereal does the exact same thing as sweets, but you end up lower than where you started in the space of 5 minutes.
Wow.
The same with pre-workout drinks. Forget them, waste of time. White Monster, rubbish. Have a coffee. Loads of other stuff that you're kind of going, oh, I didn't know that worked.
And do you get that data then on an app? Is it?
I get it on my phone.
On your phone, yeah.
Yeah. But what it's working towards is coaching.
Coaching,
so
okay.
Your phone will say, "Hey Pat, what did you just eat?"
No way.
Yeah, instantly.
Wow.
So it'll say, "What did you just eat?" And you'll put in what you just ate, and it'll learn about you. It'll learn about your body's responses to that, and it'll say, "Hey, that thing you've just eat, something in there wasn't good for you."
Wow.
And then it'll say to you, "That training you just done, actually the wrong type of training. Try something else." And it's going to give you a complete instant feedback on things you've done. And one of the founders of it has access to my one.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm sitting at home yesterday out the back, sun splitting the stones, sitting in the togs, lying out reading the papers. And I start eating grapes.
Mm.
And next they get a message. What the fuck are you up to?
No way. That's amazing.
So I said, it's only grapes. They're not good for you.
Wow.
And you think grapes, amazing, super healthy.
Yeah.
And very high, very, very high. The sugar conversion is slow. So that level of understanding about you, and then there'll be a platform built where that'll be the center, and you can drop in your Whoop, and you can drop in your Apple Watch, your Garmin, etc. And they'll add secondary data points. Wow. And then what you'll do is you'll have AI built for you, totally for you. And that's like 6 months away.
In terms of your blood, so you said there's something that kind of it's testing your blood at various different intervals. Do you
every
feel
2
that?
minutes?
Every 2 minutes?
No, nothing.
You don't feel nothing, no?
Nothing. And then there's a converter on it at the moment. They're just building another one now that converts the output, which is near NFC, into Bluetooth, and Bluetooth streams to your app, and Bluetooth streams to an Azure cloud.
And so are you thinking...
It's just warning me that mine's gone high.
Oh my God, that's amazing. So the plan for this then, so 6 months, you reckon, give or take?
6 months till all the AI. The AI is built and you'll be able to buy it in your local whatever store. I'll buy it online, and then a big D2C platform around vitamins and powders and proteins and customized vitamins.
Something tells me this one is going to be very big.
I don't know. Listen, they're all big, you know.
Yeah, but if you look at Whoop, I know there's a lot of data in there. You've got your sleep rate, you've got your HRV, you've got your kind of like indicators as to should you have a heavy day in terms of training, a light day, all of those things, coupled with what you actually eat and put in your body. I mean, that, and like you said...
Or don't eat. That's the other
Or don't eat.
thing.
Yeah.
The other amazing thing that I find, which blows my mind, is that there's times when I eat that I don't need to.
And would it tell you?
Perfect. Yeah, sure. You 5.2 is your perfect blood sugar. That gives you perfect energy. And then the other thing, which completely blows my mind, is I have the ability to not eat for 12 hours, just in case I don't, go on a spin stock and give it socks, crazy spin, and still end up after the spin class with a blood sugar score of 4.8, where my body's producing its own blood sugar with no food? Are you eating at the wrong times? Are you eating the correct stuff at the right times? How's your training? How's your movement? It can predict migraines. It can predict lots of other amazing stuff. Very early stage, very early.
If you ever need a guinea pig, just give me a call.
I'll add you to the list.
I can well imagine you've got a huge list, but I'm fascinated by it because you often take screenshots and put it up on your Insta stories. And
you can imagine Tour de France.
Yes.
And there's 200 cyclists in Tour de France. The team managers would be able to watch the blood sugar levels of their team in real time.
Yeah.
And telling them, don't eat.
Yeah.
Eat now because you need it, or push now because you've loads of energy. In reality,
that's class.
Imagine that time. When I know you do a lot of rowing, and there's those times where at the start when you were beginning to row,
yes,
and when I was beginning to bike and beginning to get fit, that I thought I could go no further. That's all here. Everything's here.
Go on in the head.
So imagine something telling you that, you actually can go further.
Come on, let's go.
There's no hassle. Let's go.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. I'm like the guinea pig, but I really like it. Really, I love data, and I love real data because the Apple Watch and all this stuff. It tells me everything afterwards.
Yeah, well,
I can now know during.
Yeah,
or before. I can now know. Look, today, you better eat now to train, or you don't need to eat at all.
I can't wait to see the future of that one. It's going to be interesting times ahead as we try and navigate out of this.
Look, we're great. We're great in a recession. We've been born into them, unfortunately.
Exactly.
The one thing I really remember of this whole period was Ireland's men and women, respect for Ireland's men and women.
Yes.
We're very good to each other, and we supported each other. We kept apart when we had to, which was amazing to watch. I hope that kind of kindness will continue. No matter what happens, we'll probably be appreciative of what we had more. There's stuff I had that I didn't appreciate enough.
I think that's very kind of apt for everybody. I think we'll appreciate it. What's important in life really is, our friends and family and food in our belly and a roof over our head. And then everything else on top of that really is a bonus. But,
and I'm not a hugger,
Yeah.
But Jesus, I can't wait to give my mum a hug, It's just hard, I go out and we do the video calls then to my kids.
Yes.
I have grandkids and family, and
my
son went to Madrid in January, so I miss him desperately. And my other son and my daughter-in-law and my grandkids are in Cove, so that's outside the distance. So I miss them desperately. I'm so lucky, they're amazing. I just find everyone on the WhatsApp talking hard, Not the same as being here, but we'll be here when times are better.
Yeah, and that is true. That is true.
That's all you can say, and I hope times are good for everybody. And if I can help in any way with anyone, sure they'll find me easy enough.
Pat, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today, and thank you so much for giving up your time.
Thank you. Thanks for everything.
Not at all.
I've rang you hundreds of times for weird pieces of advice from weird people, weird places in the world.
Take it easy, Pat.
Thanks for everything. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye. Wasn't he brilliant?
Yeah, very good.
He's such an inspiring guy. The way he sees the opportunity in things that I suppose we might take for granted or just kind of carry on with life. And then he's like, hang on a minute now, there's a problem to be solved there. So,
but isn't that the whole thing behind entrepreneurs? They see how they can, make business out of something that is needed.
Yeah, but a lot of entrepreneurs only have a couple of businesses that they may get involved in over the duration of their career. In Pat's instance, he's seen opportunity across various different elements and has got involved with so many different things. And I suppose his latest thing that he's got involved with Sisu and aesthetics. If you had known Pat when I knew Pat, when I first got to know him back in the day, I never would have thought that he ever would have invested or carry through with aesthetics. So that's really interesting. And he's turned his life around as well.
Yeah.
In so many different ways.
I'm sure lots of us have thought, I could do this and I'd make millions. But to actually do it.
Now, the toothbrush thing that he spoke about, I knew that was going nowhere. And he told me about this toothbrush and he was like, isn't this an amazing idea? And I was like, I'm not so sure.
As you were clenching your teeth.
I'd buy it once and maybe buy replacement brushes, but then after that, I'd be like, no. But then he introduced via Sisu Smile, which is teeth whitening thing that you can use on the fly and whatever else. So I don't think he's given up on the whole idea of teeth. But no, he's a great guy. And
but is teeth whitening a massive over here, like in Ireland, rather than, because I know we've got quite a few listeners in the States, and teeth whitening and just having white teeth is a big thing in the US.
Well, veneers. That's what
as in fake teeth.
Yes, veneers. The majority of Americans, I think, have veneers. They're not actually their teeth.
If you're an American listening to us right now, do you wear veneers? Get in touch with us on Twitter.
Have you a fake mouth?
Hashtag fake mouth.
But no, really, really interesting podcast this week with Pat. I really enjoyed it. And I know a lot of people were looking forward to this one when we announced it on Twitter there during the week. So
next week on the Kish Podcast, we're going down the road of health, and we're going to be joined by Roberta Horgan with Lynch Syndrome Ireland. Not a disease I've heard of before, have you?
No, I actually haven't, no.
Sadly, it's an incurable disease, and a lot of people going misdiagnosed and undiagnosed with the current COVID-19 pandemic.
Tony, that's across many various different, I suppose, health issues across the country. And I think it's a very important thing that needs to be discussed, what's going on with our hospitals, be it public and private, and waiting lists and stuff like that. So I'd be interested to have a chat with her along with yourself and see what the story is there.
Well, that is happening next week on the Kish Podcast. And thank you once again to everybody who is listening, and more new listeners all the time. And remember, if you want, and you can, and we'd love you to review us, give us a little review, especially on Apple Podcasts.
Yes, because we're deadly. It's a true story.
It is a true story, yeah.
I'm fascinated with who is listening to our podcasts all around the world.
Yeah.
We have people from Dingle to New Zealand to Australia to America to Brazil, all around Europe. I'm just fascinated when I look at these numbers. I'm really fascinated, and I'd love to know the individuals that are listening behind, I suppose, the stereo or the headphones.
Like we'd love you to get in touch.
Yeah,
and let us know so we can personally say hello to you.
Over 10,000 listens so far, Tony.
That's incredible. Thank you.
To have that for such a new podcast. I think this week we're number 6? Is it number 6?
Yeah, number 6.
So maybe when we get to beyond 10, we might have a little surprise. Get to know Tony
beyond
Leamer.
10. I thought you meant number 6 in the charts.
No. We need to work on that one.
Yeah.
But the algorithm. Give us your reviews.
This is episode 7.
Is it?
Yeah, this is episode 7.
Oh, wow. Anyway, Tony, listen, we both have had a great week. And
I have to go off and glaze me cinnamon buns.
And I have to go off and do nothing exciting, really. But listen, Tony, until next week, our next interview, I bid you goodbye.
And to you, Slán.
Slán.
Slán Machara.
Slán Machara. Bye-bye, Tony. Bye-bye.
Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.